Hi, this is Matisse with Witness, and today we're going to talk with a couple of colleagues of mine on the Informa Cam mobile app. And last week we were among 8 winners announced for this round of the Knight Foundation's News Challenge for Mobile grant and contest, and we're really excited about that support and what it will enable us to do going forward with this project. I'm going to introduce my colleagues in just 1 minute, but really briefly, the Informa Cam app is a mobile application for Android platform that is meant to help the process of authenticating media from mobile phones and mobile devices for various audiences, including journalists, human rights investigators, legal teams, etc. And we'll get into more of that, and we'll certainly share some links to background information on the app. But there are a couple of questions that we wanted to discuss today that we're asking ourselves as we develop this project, and that we've gotten from external audiences, supporters, and from people who might use this app that I wanted to discuss. So with me today are my colleagues Brian Nunez at Witness and Harlow Holmes from the Guardian Project. And if we could start, Brian, just introduce yourself very briefly, and then Harlow as well.
Hi, I'm Brian Nunez, the Technology Manager here at Witness, and I am, I guess, the lead on the Witness side on the InformaCam project.
And Harlow.
And Harlow seems to be frozen.
He's frozen.
But I'll introduce my colleague, Harlow. Harlow Holmes is a lead developer on the InformaCam project and the head of metadata and a researcher and programmer as well at the Guardian project.
Hope she's coming back.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
I just introduced you.
Did I freeze?
Yeah.
So sorry. I'll start that again. I'm Harlow. I'm the lead developer on the InformaCam project.
Great.
And by lead, she built the whole thing.
Not entirely, no.
Well, most of it.
Well, we'll kick off with a question for Brian first, in terms of Witness's perspective on who might be the core users of an app like InformaCam, either that we've already spoken to, or people who we're envisioning would make the most use out of this app.
Well, when we first started, we lost Harlow. Working on the project, we envisioned building a tool that human rights defenders could use to document the footage that they took using mobile phones in a way that both secured the media and the metadata that was collected, as well as included information that would help verify and authenticate the video that was being taken. So we created InformaCam very much with a human rights defender user in mind, but it became quickly apparent that the features that we were building into the app would be useful to a whole range of other users, particularly journalists and anyone who is trying to collect digital evidence using their mobile devices. So, I mean, it started out as a human rights tool, but I think the core user could really be anyone at this point.
And welcome back, Harlow. I think one of the other sort of more quotidian use cases that we were seeing in some of the coverage of the app and the Knight News Challenge winners last week was, were even sort of insurance agencies or people who are submitting claims, for instance, to insurance agencies to say, this fender bender happened and here's my picture of the evidence, and submitting that along with a written report to their car insurance agency, for instance. We could also see it possibly used, like you said, Brian, by anyone who are documenting things like natural disasters, and as a way maybe to sort of differentiate between the very adept photoshopping that we saw, let's say, post Superstorm Sandy, where people were sharing images of sharks in the storm waters in New Jersey, and those fantastical images of clouds swirling around the Statue of Liberty, etc. But so it does seem like there are quite a few other uses beyond human rights, but certainly we are focused on those users and journalists, etc. I mean, to that end, Harlow, I wanted to ask you a question about the number, certainly, of people who are creating mobile media these days that could be classified as human rights related content are certainly not the typical human rights defenders any longer. They're what we might term accidental witnesses or citizen witnesses. And how do we reach those kinds of people, especially those who may not know that this app exists and or may not even ever download this app and actually use it? How do we make things safer and easier for them?
Well, this is one thing that we've been thinking about for quite some time. It's actually, the answer to that is kind of part and parcel in the Guardian Project's mission. We usually believe that, the library itself is more important than the app. Like, apps are kind of over. We build apps and we love them and we use them, but like the past couple of years have shown that apps are disposable. The hottest app one day is not going to be the hottest app, like a couple of months down from now. It's just, that's the way that it goes, and as we become more attuned to it, we'll be able to adjust. So that said, the Guardian Project really, really prizes making, like little building blocks that, when stacked one on top of the other, make a great app that's really suitable for one particular case. But then if another use case arises, then we can take those same building blocks and use them again to build something else. And so what this win with the Knight Foundation actually kind of enables us to do, partly, is to ensure that we can continue taking our metadata standard, which is the GEM standard, the JSON Mobile Media Evidentiary Standard, and applying pressure to other app builders, other app builders, other even or web application servers such as like Google or such as YouTube or Tumblr or Facebook down the line, to adapt these standards that we've created. And so that way we can make sure that accidental witnesses, when they're taking a picture and posting it to their WordPress blog or pushing it to YouTube, they'll still be able to preserve that data.
Thanks. That's a really great point, and an important one to witness as well. So thanks for sharing that perspective. I want to, I guess, continue on the line of workflow for people, as well as just overall questions about security. And I think maybe start back with you, Brian. Just what's the balance between making the app really easy to use for people, as well as the need for security for users of the app? Because the way that the app world works, or that the marketplace works, is that anybody can download something. We're not necessarily going to be there, the Guardian Project or Witness, to sort of hold people's hands through installation and through best practices with use, of the application. And it's kind of a complicated app, right? It's not just like Instagram, for instance. Like, it's not just applying a beautiful filter to something. So.
Well, I think that the answer to that question is really dependent upon your use case scenario. Like, we're building InformaCam for a specific use case in which the threat model is a certain way. In the case of InformaCam, we're building it for a pretty dangerous threat model. So we're using pretty high standards of encryption and authentication, both on the application itself and the way that the application communicates with the server, with the secure backend in which the media and the metadata is stored. So that said, I mean, there's always room to make things more usable and user-friendly, and I think the key to that is to make those mechanisms as transparent to the user as possible, to the point where they disappear. And we've made some progress already with the app as far as removing the need for importing public PGP keys, so that's all internal now. We could do a lot more to try and make that process a little easier, but I think if you want to talk about making it usable for the general public, your average accidental witness, to use your terminology, I'd go back to what Harlow said, which is you need to be able to bake that functionality, including the security functions, into tools that people are already using. So to the extent that you could make, you could have the upload functionality on YouTube go over an encrypted connection, that would save a whole bunch of work on our end, rather than having to build an intermediary between those processes.
And just to unpack a little bit of some of the amazing tech speak that you were using there, Brian, for people who maybe are not as familiar with sort of the modeling aspect, the threat model, et cetera, like what's just a concrete example, moving from the spectrum away from sort of the accidental witness to somebody who's in one of these high threat situations, like what's a practical real world example we could share with people that we're talking about?
I actually have a surprising anecdote from a friend of mine with whom I just had lunch, who's not even part of Guardian Project. It's a person whose work I deeply admire, and the Internet Freedom Front, but not familiar with our apps or our workflow or anything. And he was traveling in Tunisia. And he went to a protest because he was curious. It was a local protest having to do with, police treatment of a suspect who turned out to be innocent. And he went to this protest, and he had UsabilityCam, which is the pretty much the same UI as Informa Cam. So as far as the user is concerned, it's very, very similar. And he took it out and he started taking pictures of witnesses. Was able to input information and save his data. And he found it incredibly intuitive to use. And it also really, really fit the kind of high-octane use case that he was in. He was actually on the ground in a protest, taking photos of people, and he was actually noticed that when he showed people whose pictures he had just taken and was able to show them, see, like, look, we have the option to take out your face. We have the option to, like, type in your name, but like we just, use a pseudonym, I promise. We have wiped all of the EXIF data off of it. So no one knows about our exact location. That kind of thing was really reassuring to the witness. So that was a very, very promising use case that we actually saw in action.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Harlow. Is there any other example that you would throw in there, Brian?
Well, I think that I mean, of course, concrete examples are much better than theoretical ones. But just to add additional threats that we are trying to address, some of the things that happen are government interception or third-party interception of data transmission. So if someone is trying to intercept a transmission from InformaCam to the secure repository, we try and make sure that one, they're not able to see that that traffic is actually happening by obfuscating that all of that traffic using Tor, which is a routing process that hides internet traffic. And all of that data is encrypted both on the device and while it's being transmitted. So let's say Syria is monitoring all of its incoming and outgoing traffic, for example.
Mm-hmm.
They would see traffic, but they wouldn't be able to tell what it was. And if they tried to analyze it using something like deep packet inspection or some other method where people with resources can use this technology to try and see what exactly are people trying to transmit over the internet, that it would be unreadable.
That's actually a great example, because it somewhat answers another question I was going to ask in terms of what the risk is to including all of this metadata that InformaCam, that we advertise as something that's actually helpful in the authentication process, but does that additional information put people at further risk? And so your use case example there sort of, I think, addressed some of that. I want to ask probably one last question here and then ask you guys if you have any other additional comments, but one of the things that's that the app maybe does or doesn't address is, what about someone, let's say government forces or anyone really with an agenda to sort of further their own their own agenda or their own
to use it as a propaganda tool.
Exactly. What do we do about the faking of incidents before filming ever takes place? We certainly have seen examples or things that have been called into question as possible fakery or pageantry in Syria, for example. But that could take place any number of places, and that happens before sort of digital manipulation even is part of the equation. So Harlow, I wanted to ask you that question first.
Yeah, well, first off, I guess we'll start with the depressing news. There is the thing called the analog hole, which is like everyone was real excited about Snapchat, but then you realize, like, if someone takes a screenshot of your Snapchat, that lasts forever. And also, I don't even have to take it. I took a picture of my device with another device, so that even obviates like the screenshot. I mean, there's what's called the analog hole. People in the olden days, oh gosh, I can't believe I said that. But an earlier way of verifying video is that you would have the person who was being videoed show today's newspaper in the frame in order to link up the date with the date that they say that the media was taken. Although that can only ensure that the video did not occur in the future. It doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen in the past. The aims of InformaCam is to automate processes that are usually more resource intensive in terms of cost and time for people to verify this media in certain cases, but it's also there it takes a lot of grunt work off of people's backs, but it does not at all obviate the need to actually go in and perform the proper due diligence and verification when lives are on the line, such as in a court of law. And we expect our lawyers and human rights defenders to do that work. We still do want them to do that work, but we're just taking certain insecurities off of the table.
Brian, what about the sort of, I'm glad you brought up, Harlow, the question of judicial, processes or just sort of like justice mechanisms, because I think certainly from a human rights perspective, we're thinking about ways that we can help ensure that some of this content does become support for, or even in and of itself, evidentiary, files, for instance, for a national or a local or an international court, say like the International Criminal Court. Can you speak to that at all, Brian?
Yeah, well, I echo what Harlow said. We can't control what happens in the real world with an app. So stuff's always going to be faked. The media that is captured with Informa Cam, we've designed the application to collect media that conforms to the current standards of evidentiary requirements based on what we know from our research and the research that our partners at the International Bar Association have done. So it was designed to create media that could be used in that context, but it won't get. I mean, it's not a guarantee that someone hasn't faked an actual live situation to try and do an analog run around this verification process.
But on the brighter side, the metadata that we do include is so expansive that maybe that might provide fodder for an additional investigation. Like, I don't know, like, for this Wi-Fi network wasn't created. Are you sure you took the picture on this day? Because we see this Wi-Fi network over here, but I mean, those possibilities are endless, right?
Yeah, it requires a lot more work to fake something because you'd have to be aware of a lot more things in terms of these wireless, like not just wireless networks, anything like a Bluetooth device or a cell tower location, things that you didn't have to worry about when you were faking the moon landing, for example. Those things you have to think about now. So it actually, while I think one way to think about it is that while we're creating less work for human rights defenders and legal investigators, and creating more work for people who want to fake that same data.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys and sort of taking us out on a positive note, and I think getting back to again what Harlow, the core impetus and reason for creating InformaCam, and I want to thank both of you guys for the tremendous work that the Guardian Project has done on this app, and Brian for helping shepherd the process really for Witness. So thank you both so much for your time today, but also leading up to this really great moment with the Night News Challenge, and also all the work that's ahead of us. Certainly, yay for more work.
We live for it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I just want to sign off by saying that if for people who want more information, that they should definitely visit the awesome and resource-rich Guardian Project site, which is guardianproject.info, and follow the Guardian Project on Twitter, which is Guardian Project, all one word, no underscore. And for more information at Witness, you can visit us at witness.org, and on Twitter, follow us at witness.org, no dot or period, again, or underscore in there. Any other parting words you guys have?
I just want to give the shout out to Harlow, because she's
Right here.
And so let me reach into the Hangout toolbox.
Oh boy. He just couldn't resist.
I needed to do that.
Thank you. I would like to give a shout out to our fabulous team. Nathan Freitas, of course, our fearless leader, who's kind of a brilliant man, and I'm very, very proud to serve under him. Yeah. John Van Every, who is our absolute Android media guru, who totally rocks it. Andrew Sr., our Google guy on the inside, who drops this like angel code on us sometimes that like blows our mind. Hans Christoph Steiner, who's our fabulous deep media guy who writes amazing libraries. Abel Luck, also another amazing low-level programmer. Barbara Mack, our metadata guru, who's really awesome. And Lee Azzarello, our server admin maven. And if there's anyone that I've missed on this project, like totally like kick me in the butt next time you see me.
We'll write all of their names in the description for the video, Harlow, so we'll make sure that we document them all there for sure for posterity. Brian, we should totally give a shout out to Sam Gregory, our program director, who has also been really instrumental in leading this project for Witness, and of course everybody, you know, from our executive director Yvette Albertine to to the amazing foundation's staff, Sarah Federline and Lisa Robinson, who helped us, you know, shape the application that we submitted for this awesome accolade from the Knight Foundation. Cha-ching is right, because we can't do it without the bills. We can't. We have to pay the bills.
Lights have to stay on.
And yeah, my internet bill.
So thank you guys so much, and I'm glad to have heard, you know, about all the team at the Guardian Project on Informa Cam and on the rest of the apps, etc. So thanks for that, those shout outs, both of you, and we'll see you again, hopefully on a hangout as we progress with the project through 2013.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Bye.
Bye.